advantages and rationale why this is done. So why we do this procedure, why to go through a vein, crossing the heart chamber, going into the hepatic vein and taking the biopsy. So what is the advantage of it? So when we look at percutaneous biopsy, we what we do is after going through skin, subcutaneous tissue, and peritoneum, we puncture the capsule. Okay, so even if we use a very thin needle, we are obviously going to puncture the liver capsule. So what it does is it increases the chance of hemorrhage, and where that hemorrhage is going to be going. So the hemorrhage is going to be draining into the peritoneum. So there is a risk of capsular hemorrhage, which by itself can lead to intraperitoneal hemorrhage. So there is nothing we can do if there is a hemorrhage, and if it is going to drain into the peritoneum. And the risk, as we know, is increased when the platelet count decreases or the coagulation parameters increases, which is the commonly used one is PTINR. So when PTINR is abnormal, all the platelets are abnormal. So the cutoff taken is 50,000. So for platelets, it is 50,000. And for PTINR, although literature varies, so 2.5, 2 to 2.5 is the cutoff above which we do a transvenous biopsy. So what we do in transvenous biopsy or transjugular liver biopsy is we don't puncture the capsule at all. So we go through the vessel. So we go through the venous structures starting from the neck up to the liver parenchyma, and we just puncture the vessel wall, taking a sample from the adjacent liver parenchyma. So that is what we do. So indirectly, what it does reduces the hemorrhage risk, be it capsular hemorrhage or intraperitoneal hemorrhage. Okay, and one more important advantage is it has a dual utility to measure the hepatovenous portal gradient. So we can measure the HVPG, commonly asked in Viva also. So why it is done and how it is done. So you just need to remember HVPG is basically done to differentiate the causes of portal hypertension, especially sinusoidal and post-sinusoidal portal hypertension, which forms a big number of causes. If you see, there are causes of portal hypertension. Majority of portal hypertension is caused due to pathologies involving the sinusoidal and post-sinusoidal regions. So HVPG plays a very important role, although it's an indirect measure of portal vein. So it is the most commonly done procedure. We don't do a direct portal venous pressure measurement, which is very rarely done. Okay, so the most commonly uh, done test to measure the portal vein pressure is measuring the HVPG. Okay, so we'll be seeing how it is done in the coming slides. And access, as I said earlier, since it bypasses the liver capsule, there is advantage when we do biopsy in patients with massive ascites and coagulopathy. So these are all the advantages and the basis on which TJLB has been described and is being done on interventional radiology department. So it's a very important procedure, and it's comparatively easier to perform also. So it's prudent to know about it and adopt it in our practice. Okay. So what are the indications? So indications, already we know the advantages. So first one is coagulopathy. So when platelets are low, that is the cutoff is 50,000, or when the PTINR is high. So 1.5 is the cutoff. Mostly it's an arbitrary cutoff, which is used in most of the centers. However, according to literature, so 2 to 2.5 is the cutoff taken. But if the patient is high risk, patient has deranged coagulation parameters, and if it is more than 1.5, and if the right IJV is patent, so it's always beneficial to go to uh, perform a TJLB rather than a percutaneous biopsy. So what is the other modification that we can use when there is derangement of the coagulation parameters. So I think last class, if anyone had seen the last class, can you name what procedure can we do when the patient has deranged coagulation parameters? So for example, PDNR is 1.8, platelets are normal, and no ascites, no obesity. So what can we do other than TJLB? Anyone? So yeah, we can do plug assisted liver biopsy. So what we do in plug assisted liver biopsy, so once biopsy is done with the same outer cannula, we inject gel foam as we withdraw the outer cannula. So that is the technique. Yeah, correct. Dr. Kalpana. Yeah, you're correct. So, plug biopsy, plug assisted liver biopsy, we can do under FFP cover. Very good. So that is one modification we can do in a setup where IR is not available, and it is also beneficial in a lot of patients. So when we do TJLB, okay, so when platelets are less, INR is also deranged, and other coagulation parameters are also deranged. So if the patient is having all coagulation parameters as deranged, then we prefer to do a TJLB. And whenever there is massive ascites, even after adequate drainage, then also TJLB is a very good procedure to do. Other thing is morbid obesity. So in morbid obesity, what happens? Visualization is like very poor. So the liver, yeah. So we were talking about indications. So these are the primary indications. So coagulopathy, ascites, morbid obesity, and pileosis hepatis. And coming to secondary indications, so when we want to measure portal vein, there is a need to measure HVPG. So we can use TJLB in that we can do both the procedures at the same. So that is one advantage. And in cases where there is failed percutaneous biopsy, so if, for example, in cases like morbid obesity or very contracted cirrhotic liver, in those cases, if the percutaneous biopsy fails, then we can do a transjugular liver biopsy. Yeah, so pileosis hepatis is a lesion. So uh, you have to go through the theory once. So it contains a lot of blood filled cysts within. So uh, it's a benign lesion. However, it has a risk of increased intraparenchymal hemorrhage when we do percutaneous biopsy. Although in most of the cases it is diagnosed on imaging, in doubtful cases we need to do a biopsy, and TJLB is preferred compared to percutaneous biopsy in those cases. And also in patient undergoing TIPS, we can do percutaneous transvenous biopsy through because uh, do a extracapsular puncture. So these are the indications of transjugular liver biopsy. And coming to contraindications, although there are no absolute contraindications, relative contraindications. So first one is very severe coagulopathy and severe thrombocytopenia. So what SIR guidelines suggests, so if it is like INR more than 2.5, it's one of the relative contraindications to perform transjugular liver biopsy. Although people still do TJLB under FFP cover with high risk consent, and if it is unavoidable, or else we need to correct the coagulation parameters first and then postpone the procedure. And hydrated cyst, it's because there is a risk of anaphylactic shock if we are puncturing one of the hydrated cyst. So that is one of the relative contraindication. And if there is lack of suitable venous access, so if there is thrombosis of the internal jugular vein, then so the obvious next step is to do through the left-sided internal jugular vein. If there is like thrombosis of all the jugular vein, so in cases of CKD, uh, because of HT catheter, if there has been occlusion of the jugular vein, then we can do a transfemoral liver biopsy. So that is also one possibility. But rarely all the veins jugular and femoral might be occluded. So in those cases, we can do a direct puncture. We can try, or else we can do venoplasty, and then followed by a transjugular or a transvenous liver biopsy. Okay, so that is one option. So all these are relative contraindications, meaning we can correct it by a few techniques and then proceed with a transjugular liver biopsy. And focal lesions, generally percutaneous biopsy, USG or CT guided biopsy is the indication, is the procedure of choice. However, if it is very near to middle hepatic or right hepatic vein, and in cases of severe coagulation derangement, then we can go with TJLB. So, although we don't do TJLB for focal lesions, percutaneous is the procedure of choice in few cases, which can be based on patient criteria. We can proceed with TJLB if it is like near to the hepatic veins. So coming to the equipment, so what all equipment we need? So we need a 9 French vascular sheet. So first we need to puncture the internal jugular vein. Usually it is done by IJV puncture is done using 18 gauge needle. Okay, or few people also use micropuncture needle to reduce the risk of thrombosis and hemorrhage. So micropuncture needle can also be used, okay, in cases where the lumen is in cases of partial thrombosis and also in pediatric patient. So micropuncture needle is preferred. Okay, and then once we do a puncture, so we insert the guide wire. Okay, so we'll see a step-by-step procedure in the next slide. And so we need a guide wire. First, we'll puncture the internal jugular vein. And once we see a gush of blood from the cannula, then we insert the guide wire. And once we insert the guide wire, we exchange with a 9 French vascular sheet. Okay, so we exchange it using Seldinger technique. And once the sheet is in position, then we use catheter with wire. So the most commonly used is MPA catheter, which is multi-purpose catheter. Okay, because cannulating right hepatic vein is easier, and that's why it's the preferred vessel to be selected in cases of TJLB. And once we cannulate the right hepatic vein, then we exchange it with the long metallic cannula, so which comes in a specific set. So there are two biopsy sets which can be used for TJLB. So one is the lab set. So liver access biopsy set. Okay, so first one is the lab set by Cook. Okay, so this is one, and second is T-Lab set by Dextra. Okay, so this the advantage of T-Lab is it has a flexi-core needle. Okay, so that so what they say is it is like more conforming to the vessel angulation compared to the lab set. Okay, so that's why it is called as flexi-core needle set. Okay, and so once we insert the cannula, then we insert a 18 gauge or 19 gauge biopsy needle, 18 or 19 gauge biopsy needle. So it will be the outer aspect will be same as the percutaneous needle that we use, but it will be a needle with increased length. So it will be a lengthier biopsy needle.